Welcome to One Cool Thing. I'm John Burek. This is Matt Buzzy, and we're here today with a pretty much unique product from Asus. Looks like a laptop, kind of types like a laptop.
Feels roughly like a laptop.
Right, but if you look at it closely, you'll notice there's some very not laptop stuff going on here.
Yeah,
Matt, take it away.
So the product name might give it away. It's the Zenbook 17 Fold OLED. So a little bit of a spoiler in the product name. As you can see, it looks kind of like a laptop, very compact, small, not the thinnest thing, which will demonstrate why. You can see really the big reveal is this is actually detachable. This is one giant display, and you can fold, as the name heavily implies, folded phones, sort of other folded laptop-ish products. We've seen a couple. Lenovo had its Fold product. I think that was the first one we were able to check out a few years back. But this is Asus's take at it, and obviously a big shiny OLED screen. You can fold. We'll get into the different sort of layouts you can have, what you can do with it. There's sort of a portrait mode, there's a full display, and of course there is this Bluetooth keyboard that sort of makes it into a multi-mode, including a laptop mode device. So I don't really know if we can call it a laptop, if there's a laptop mode, but it's really one giant screen tablet, all-in-one, stop and shop, premium sort of experimental product.
Yeah, so you mentioned the Lenovo model before. I think that was a 12 or 13-inch screen. Now this here is a 17.3, as I understand it.
Yeah, at full display, and it makes up two 12.5-inch screens when they're individually segmented.
So the idea here is you're using it in this mode. You're using it as this is about a 12.5-inch, so about the size of actually slightly smaller even than like a typical business laptop, which these days are coming in 13,
Yep.
13.3, 14, right?
Mm-hmm. There's been a couple like offbeat products I think that have 12.5-inch screens, maybe some like super small ultra portables or tablets.
The Surface Laptop Go is a 12, I believe 12.5.
Yes, and 3:2 aspect ratio too. That's sort of like different looking layout than you're used to, but not as uncommon as it used to be.
So this is a 3.2, you were saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So when you actually open it fully up, it's
a 4.3.
4.3
in the full 17-inch display.
Right.
So,
okay.
So each of these act as, in this, there's different modes. You can flip it this way. You can put different products up, different applications up rather on each side. It should offer you automated as you flip. See if you can catch this on camera here. If you put it down, it asks you for the different layout. It'll automatically adjust. If you put it back up into laptop mode, pointing this at the camera, so use the rotations, and you can instantly snap your applications, the layout you want them. It responds to the keyboard going on top here, which is probably the coolest and most useful everyday sort of layout. It pushes this all up onto one screen. If you want to use it more like an average laptop, put it on your lap, use it on the train. You can actually have a Surface to sort of work on, which is something that a product like the Surface, Microsoft Surface, is okay at, because you don't really get that base underneath structure to kind of give you the traditional laptop feel. So it is kind of nice that you can
use it like
sort
a
of
laptop.
use it in either way, right?
Right. You don't have the stand sticking out and cutting into your leg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But speaking of the stand, you do mention, so this is sort of a desktop mode. I mentioned it's one big screen. You can see this sort of, I don't want to call it a case or a stand. It's kind of just part of the product. This part is sort of embedded onto the spine here, and this acts as a kickstand. So you can do that, pull that up, stretch it all into one mode, pick your layout there, and then all of a sudden you have this one giant screen, which is pretty cool. And then you still do get the keyboard functionality on top of it. So this is desktop mode, I believe, is what kind of Asus refers to it as. The name, I guess, doesn't really matter. If you can imagine a use case for this exact layout, then you're kind of in business.
Right. You can think of it almost like a small screened all-in-one PC that you can carry around with you when you fold it in half, and it's the size of a laptop, right? Yeah. One thing I noticed about this case, which is nice, is it keeps you from pinching yourself when you're opening the thing up, because you're going to have two pieces coming together, and that actually covers over the hinge area there.
Yeah. So unlike some smartphones that have done sort of with the barrier down the middle, you can kind of see the line. This is a clean separation. Underneath is this hinge, which is designed with a little extra room so that it's not tugging at the display every time you fully open it. So they obviously done a lot of repeat runs of opening and closing it. It's rated for a ton of uses of opening and closing it through its lifetime. It should be able to last you quite a long time, at least in their stress testing.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the screen though, I mean, there's always that worry about the actual flex point there. And you look at something like the Microsoft Duo phone, the Duo 2, the one with the actual hinge in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, is somebody going to try this maybe at this size? And it really then would just be two 13-inch screens maybe next to each other with an actual hinge. But now that I look at this, at least in this mode, it doesn't work as well, because then you're going to have a giant line cut in the middle of your screen.
Yeah, for the sort of laptop mode, I think there's a case for that, because it is two separate screens. It almost doesn't matter, because you're not really using I think the hinge area is a little bit of dead space, So you're not really needing that inch of screen real estate too badly, but you do kind of lose that nice seamless big screen design. And if you were doing, I don't know, graphic design work or even just to build a big Excel spreadsheet, having it on this much screen real estate is a lot better than the much smaller single screen.
Yeah, I mean, you can't sort of overstate enough. This is the equivalent of a 17-inch laptop screen in a form factor that's way smaller than any 17-incher that you're going to get to. So, I mean, there are obviously a lot of caveats around this, but it's very difficult to do a 17-inch laptop and anything smaller than 17 inches.
Right. So all of that screen size, into this little body, you can see it could easily be mistaken for an ultra portable. It definitely is a boon. That said, all this engineering, John, will cost you a pretty penny. Like I said, an experimental product, maybe Asus will continue to iterate on this and then down the line. This kind of happens when we see new technology introduced that is a little bit experimental, a little bit cutting edge, and a little bit finicky, because as you can see, you got to kind of rotate it the right way, et cetera, et cetera. This sort of thing is kind of a halo product and conceptual idea. It'll cost you. There is a single SKU, single configuration, OLED, i7, this cool keyboard, and all the other extras that we'll get into in our full review. It costs $4,000. So that probably warded off a lot of people instantaneously if you had any interest. That's just the reality. I'm trying to couch those things because that's just the kind of product it is. I don't think even Asus would think they're going to move a zillion of these units. This is not a mass market product by any means, but it is a cool one. I'll give it that.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the interesting things about this, though, is you were showing it off in that desktop AIO mode, but there's actually a whole bunch of different modes, or theoretical modes you can use this in, right? So you got your laptop mode right here, where you've got the keyboard overlaying the screen, and it sort of auto-detects that it's a Bluetooth keyboard, right? And it auto-detects that you're only using half the screen. When you do the 17-inch on the desk with the keyboard in front of it, you've got the full screen in landscape mode, but there's also a couple of other modes that...
So this, I mean, I showed you while demonstrating the on and off, but this is, I think they refer to it as extended mode. This is kind of just, hey, you could have a different application here and control it all with the touchpad. And then there is, I think I also was in it briefly, I think they call this reader mode. So it's kind of like a giant Kindle. You can go from flat, which is that, but once you bend the screen in a little, it does register that, and you can do this side by side. Depending on your workflow, depending on what you do for work or fun, you could have a whole video up over here, or you could have two different documents side by side, which, I mean, I do all the time on my sort of multi-monitor setup. This is obviously a much smaller sort of condensed version of that, but a lot of the same use cases certainly apply.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, if you're a student, or if you tend to look at, say, magazines that are not printed in black and white strictly, if a lot of photography involved, a Kindle is going to be e-ink, right? So here you actually have a relatively seamless solution for looking at a full magazine spread in color without losing anything in whatever the artist or the photographer intended.
Yeah, and it is an OLED, so it's a really nice screen. It's not just like, okay, well, it's a dinky screen because they really focus on making it foldable, and it's an OLED screen. It's 2560 by 1920 resolution. It's sharp. It looks good in person. There is sort of I don't know how much it comes through on camera as in person. There's sort of a sheen over it, which I think is kind of the usual for anything that folds like this. It can't quite be the normal. Obviously, you can't cover it in glass. It's not going to fold. So there's kind of a film across the top.
It looks glossy, and I do see it does pick up fingerprints a fair bit. I mean, we did clean it before we came on, and it's already up already.
Yeah, the hinge catches the light to it at a certain way, at certain angles. So, like I said, a little finicky just because that's kind of the nature of this sort of thing. You can, though, easily see the upside of why a device like this is cool. But like I said, the price will probably be off-putting to any mass market adoption.
Yeah, no, I would think so. What are the connectivity on this? What can you do with it?
Yeah, there's some USB-C with Thunderbolt 4. I think that's the only connectivity. So not a lot of ports. Obviously, it is Bluetooth. There is a terabyte SSD inside as far as storage, and it's a Core i7 1250U while we're on the subject of specs. Right. Sort of a pretty robust little device. Obviously, again, the price is definitely reflecting that, but not a ton of ports beyond the Thunderbolt 4 connections.
Right. Yeah, I was looking. Yeah, the two Thunderbolt 4s. I'm assuming one of those would be used for charging, right? Because I don't see anything else on there for separate charging port. What other sort of aspects to this did we not cover? So there's the mode. There was the reader mode where you hold it like this. There's the laptop mode where you've got the keyboard over the screen. You've got the extended mode where you've got
this
sort of long
this
ways,
setup,
right?
which is nice to be able to kind of take this keyboard, sit back. You can set this up somewhere
In front,
It
right?
doesn't have to be right on top of it, and you can still control it. So,
Is there a way to do like entire screen vertically standing up, or is it only landscape standing up?
I think because of the way this kickstand works, it doesn't reflect down.
Oh,
It's just that
only
one
for
side
landscape
kind of kicks
version.
up. So yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And also, when you're doing laptop mode, you might have seen me sort of grab it awkwardly and twist it. As we realized when we were playing with it, because of the webcam, I mean, it makes sense. You can't turn it laptop mode any way you grab it. It won't register this way because this should be the top of the laptop. So this you have to do this.
Otherwise, when you put the keyboard on it, you'll be covering up your camera. Right. So that makes sense. Yeah. The other aspect of this that occurred to me was when you were folding it up this way, it would be great if they did have a kickstand on the bottom.
Yeah,
to be able to work it like this.
It almost looks like this
should come off.
should come off that way too, but it doesn't.
Yeah, because that strikes me as, I mean, it might be a little bit top heavy, but it strikes me as
because people actually work with their either monitors, their desktop monitors in this.
Like if you're doing programming or something, or reading long web pages or editing pages that are in a portrait orientation. That seems like that would be a.
You can of course hold it pretty easily. It's 3.3 pounds, by the way. It's not heavy really. This barely adds any weight. No, that's not as light as some ultra portables, but with the kickstand sort of thing built in and everything else it has going on, it's reasonably portable.
Right. Well, that said, you can get a 17-inch laptop these days, in the LG Gram 17 for about that same weight or a little less, I believe. So I believe the Gram comes in under 3 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not the lightest 17-inch solution out there, but it is definitely the smallest footprint one once you fold it all up. Yeah.
Just some other things. The bezel is obviously there. I think that's unavoidable to get all the design elements in. Additionally, that makes the keyboard sort of float over the screen instead of go on top of it. I guess for damage and other reasons. And related to the damage, there's not stylus support.
Yes.
You can use one of those rubber ends, like circular dome tapping styluses.
The mushy things that are not too accurate, right?
Because I think that won't damage the screen, but they don't want to ship or, sort of market the idea that any stylus is good on this because it will scratch the screen because it is a plastic sort of bendable film. It's a little too soft to take the traditional stylus, so they didn't want to pack it in and don't want to, say all styluses work because people are going to immediately ruin their very expensive devices. So be careful. I don't think it's going to scratch from my finger or from normal use or anything like that, but warding off any plastic tip or harder styluses because that just seems like a no-go.
So now we have to bring up the awkward question when it comes to OLED. And that awkward question is OLED.
OLED.
Yes. What will happen in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, given the propensity for OLED to burn in? Is that going to be something that is more of a issue on a laptop versus on a TV? Is that even a concern?
So it is less of a concern in OLED in general than it used to be. Between the technology advancing and a lot of software developments that both TV makers and laptop manufacturers have sort of incorporated as default into their devices, whether that's pixel refreshers, a lot of TV comes with that. It'll make sure the colors are turning on and off or changing, or there's a screensaver that makes sure to kind of refresh the screen so that pixels aren't sitting there burned in. For the laptop, it ships in dark mode because that way more of the pixels can be off when it's black, and it takes a little less battery and energy to run those pixels at full brightness all the time. Obviously, the default for really any Windows machine when it's on battery, it's going to shut itself off after a few minutes. I think the default on this might even have been a little lower than normal because it wants you to it actually dimmed here while I was speaking, because it wants you to sort of conserve and because it needs to watch out for those sorts of burn-in things, which I understand the concern with OLED and burn-in. That's, again, with TVs, still a big concern. More and more laptops have them. I haven't really experienced any issues because of all the things I mentioned to kind of prevent it. But yeah, if you were to, I guess, leave this on with the never shut off the screen mode and it was running and it was showing the same static picture for a really long time and you, I guess, either forgot or, it just stayed on for a really long time through whatever circumstance, the potential for the burn-in to happen is there. Through normal use, I don't think it's probably going to be a huge issue. But
I think people use laptops and tablets, for that matter, in a very different way than they do TVs. TVs tend to stay on all day.
Yeah, you might walk out of the room, leave it on, leave the menu sitting there.
Fall asleep with it on and whatnot. Yeah, and also, you tend to be watching something like a sports program, which may have ticker or something of that
Mhm.
sort, which doesn't move. Although I guess in the Windows world,
The
you also
bar
have the
and
taskbar
yeah,
and what
so-
have you. So, but it sounds like there are at least built-in modes here that the unit is set to default to put it to sleep and to also color shift.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we disabled some of that stuff for the purposes of our video.
So it doesn't
here,
shut off on
so
us, but it has dimmed successfully only in a couple minutes.
Right.
Just to make sure it's protecting itself.
Mhm. Is there anything else on this that we really need to cover? I mean, the cameras, or the camera, anything special there, or the audio system that we know of?
No, I mean, haven't had a full chance to really like blast the speakers or do a bunch of like video testing, but those are there. The display is 60 hertz. That's not anything fancy. It is 100% DCI-P3 coverage. At least that's what it's rated for. We always do our own screen tests. So being OLED and having that sort of color coverage and color vibrancy is good for, I don't know, if you're buying a $4,000 device. Some people in that ballpark might want to do some content creation or at least editing. So that having a higher caliber screen is good for those types of users. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an experimental thing that's more cool than necessary. I think if this became the norm somehow and was affordable, it would be like a no-brainer because like it's cool, it's useful. Why not?
Right.
But we'll have to give it the full rundown, test it. Obviously, this is just kind of our impressions after a bit of time using it, not the full review and the score and all that. So you can read on PCBag.com for those details.
Oh, the one last thing we have to talk about. Why is the back glowing like that?
Yeah, so this this metal, this strip here, I believe the whole chassis is magnesium alloy. It feels nicely built, if not the sleekest thing in the world, but it's decent. This sort of pearlescent kind of
How you describe that?
I don't know if it's coming through on camera. It's like reflecting the light in a weird way between the logo and these sort of. It kind of just radiates out. It's a
not
little
illuminated. It's not illuminated.
No,
though,
it's
right?
not. It's not lit, but it looks like it is.
Right. It might just be our house lights here, or
and it's catching in kind of a beam.
Yeah, so I could. I don't know if that's actually going to be the normal behavior in most cases, but I see somebody across the table from you just being like, "What's up with your laptop?"
in a cafe, getting like blinding the people next to you or whatever.
Yeah, but it actually did catch our eye. We were kind of wondering, like, if this had some sort of internal illumination coming out from under the stand or something like that. But no, it just appears to be.
Just is that way.
Yeah, it is. What do you call it? Very eye-catching.
Yep.
So,
and also to pack it all up, as we pack up our video here, it does sort of, because this is a wedge shape, close right over the keyboard, which is pretty cool. So you can carry it with you. It makes it a bit heftier. It's a dense little thing, but considering considering that it's technically a 17-inch display and has a keyboard wrapped into it, you could definitely do worse.
I mean, it's the best OLED sandwich I've seen all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hungry now.
Yep, there you go.
But
All right, well, we're going to go off camera,
device.
actually, and Matt's going to chow down
I'm
on
going to have a snack on this.
So thank you very much for our checking out our preview of the Zenbook OLED. Matt's going to be benchmarking this unit, and we'll have a full review up on PCMag.com shortly. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back seeing you soon.